At last, Rick Harrison's son divulges startling information about his father. As Rick Harrison's high-stakes trial approaches a crucial stage, Corey Harrison, a household personality from the popular reality TV show Pawn Stars, has shocked the world by revealing dark, terrifying facts about his own father. His own father. Rick Harrison's son revealed a crafty criminal business that has flourished in secrecy for more than 2 decades in a heartbreaking interview, declaring a total separation with his father. Beneath the glittering glamour of TV stardom, Corey's disclosures go beyond a simple family dispute. It's a simple family dispute. They reveal a terrifying underworld with secret passageways hiding horrible horrors. A vast network of horrors is painstakingly concealed behind the appearance of a happy family, while innocent bodies are displayed like savage artifacts from the past. Why would a son go to such extreme lengths as to forsake his father and reveal such horrifying secrets? Was Corey scared to speak, coerced into keeping the truth to himself until now? Or is this a well-thought-out move by a co-conspirator who is desperate to blame his father? Come along with us as we explore the confession behind the quiet, an engrossing journey that reveals the complete and horrific reality of Rick Harrison's crimes as revealed by his own son, Corey Harrison's heartbreaking testimony. In the fading light of a darkened room, Corey Harrison's gaunt face appears, marked with deep sadness. The 57-minute interview shows a man who is very different from the upbeat image that viewers are accustomed to seeing on TV. Even though he constantly lowers his head to avoid the camera, the pain and fatigue in his eyes reveal a secret he has been hiding for years, a reality that is too terrible to face. This isn't conjecture or an impetuous outburst. Corey starts off with a serious tone in his voice. I wish I could forget the memories, proof, and specifics of my father's atrocities. It all began one fateful night when 16-year-old Corey discovered a chained filing cabinet in the pawn shop's dusty storage room. This was strange considering the shop's usually disorganized documents, none of which looked significant enough to be locked away. He used a tool to pry it open out of sheer curiosity. There were black and white pictures of human corpses within, some of them yellowed with age. These photos weren't forensic. Strange stage setups were used to posture the bodies, a grandmother clock next to an old bed with a woman lying across it, a Civil War era guy kneeling in prayer, a little girl sitting amidst antique toys. She stared blankly with sunken eyes. The perverted mind of whoever planned and took the photos was exposed by the careful arrangement of each body, which appeared to be a part of a sadistic art display. It is clear from Corey's statements how terrified the teenage lad was at that very moment. He remembers, I was petrified, questioning why we had these items in our home. Who was the owner of this collection? My grandfather? My dad? Clutching glumly to denial, he told himself they had to be phony. My dad was engaged on some kind of art preservation initiative, Nantive. As he describes the next terrifying incident, his heartbeat quickens. I was attempting to interpret what I was seeing when I became aware that my father was staring at me from the doorway. The memory chills him to the bone even today. Terrified, Corey quickly locked the cabinet, stumbled out an excuse about cleaning the shop, and ran to his room. He claims it seemed as if he had stepped beyond a boundary that he would never be able to return to. After that night, a series of disturbing incidents transpired. Corey started observing disturbing trends in his father's actions. Rick would pretend to be treasure searching while sneaking out in the middle of the night with a shovel and gloves. But no valuables ever came to light. Even security was prohibited from entering the private chamber he maintained in the shop, and he curtly responded to questions by saying, "It's for storage." Then came a strong antiseptic chemical scent, like to that of a biology lab, rather than the stench of rotting. When Corey accidentally unlocked a luggage in Rick's SUV's trunk, it was the tipping point. There were brand new, high-definition color pictures of bodies and well-lit scenes with handwritten comments in Rick's distinctive script. Shoulder joint adjustment specimen for 1997. Check the integrity of the cranium. Make sure the femur doesn't break. Historical significance. Every time Corey made a new discovery, whether on purpose or by accident, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him, as though invisible eyes were following his every step, or worse, that Rick might suddenly show up out of the blue and surprise him. Corey remained silent in spite of his growing doubts and concerns. He still thought his father was a wonderful man at the moment, so it seemed impossible that Rick could be linked to those horrifying pictures. As he descended into remorse, he even scolded himself for harboring such sinister ideas. He endured years of suffering, filled with self-loathing and restless nights. Then everything was different. Rick Harrison was taken into custody and charged with a number of serious offenses. Although Corey's fears were validated, the facts simply made his suffering worse. Corey is now faced with a difficult decision of whether to reveal his father or keep him safe. Every choice is filled with excruciating suffering, and both seem incorrect. I was aware that I would lose everything if I spoke up. His voice quivers as he speaks, my family, my career, maybe even my freedom. When Rick sent him a spooky letter with only one threatening line, his feeble attempts to defend his silence fell apart. You were constantly aware. Keep quiet. Corey's heart was broken by those remarks, which revealed a terrible reality. He had been a pawn in his father's corrupt scheme all along. Rick had taken advantage of his son's affection and faith, even taking pleasure in Corey's pain. Corey's revelation happened at that same time. He handed over a 200-page journal to the FBI, painstakingly recording every unsettling detail he had seen, determined to escape the bonds of quiet. In a case that has captivated the country, that journal is now a key piece of evidence. An average of more than 7 million people watched each episode of Pawn Stars at its height. Both the high-stakes assessments of rare items and the touching picture of the Harrison family, 3 generations working together to operate the renowned gold and silver pawn shop, captivated the audiences. This depiction of generational ties and familial ties became a beloved representation of the American dream. But that picture of paradise has been destroyed. Following Corey Harrison's shocking confession, the FBI launched a thorough investigation that exposed a gruesome criminal enterprise that Rick Harrison had secretly established and run for more than 20 years in the center of the golden silver pawn shop. The store appeared to be the cherished focal point of a cultural phenomenon, but FBI investigators discovered a terrifying, 3-tiered criminal organization that was meticulously planned. The Pawn Store and its TV show, The First Layer, is a perfect front. The second tier consisted of shell corporations that transported and stored human remains, such as Harrison Asset Protection LLC. In the deepest layer, bodies were sold as historical treasures through a covert auction network that catered to the ultra-wealthy. The lead investigator disclosed that after careful examination, several of the alleged artifacts were actually human remains, with DNA matching unresolved missing persons cases in the US, Canada, and numerous Asian nations. Rick's use of his TV celebrity to justify illegal activities was the main factor in the endurance of this criminal enterprise. He avoided stringent customs inspections by classifying shipments as valuable antiques or movie props. He even obtained exemptions at some airports through dubious sponsorship agreements with significant media organizations. 20% of the store's goods, Corey revealed, was stored in a restricted section called the Archive Vault, designated as internal storage, and never sold or recorded. These discoveries turned the store into a hideous storehouse of human artifacts rather than a symbol of the American dream. Rick Harrison eventually lowered his head and entered a guilty plea once crucial witnesses and devastating evidence were in place. Rick was charged with 29 offenses in late March 2025, including first-degree murder, money laundering, smuggling antiquities, operating an organized crime syndicate, and obstructing justice. Following a 3-month investigation that involved 70 federal investigators and criminology experts, the prosecution accelerated. Under strict security and close media coverage from across the world, the trial began on September 18, 2024, at the Nevada Federal Courthouse. Dubbed reality TV trial of the century. More than 200 reporters were drawn to cover it live. Every little detail was examined by networks such as CNN, NBC, and CBS. The courtroom was captivated by a major question. Was Corey Harrison involved in the wrongdoings of his father? As Rick yelled obscenities and cursed at his son, accusing him of betraying his father, the tension increased. Corey's face was a complicated tapestry of pain, remorse, and resolution, and he stayed silent in response. 5 exhausting weeks later, the 12-member jury returned a unanimous decision. Rick Harrison received a life sentence without the possibility of release. Corey was completely exonerated because of his open testimony, strong collaboration with the authorities, and lack of involvement in covering up the crimes. Among the innumerable stories of brave people revealing the wrongdoings of their loved ones, Corey Harrison's case is particularly complex. He chose the light of truth instead of stumbling into darkness as a bystander. Corey, a character who was maybe both guilty and a helpless victim, was intricately interwoven throughout this dark story. Years later, Corey was left with a burden he could only identify because of his hesitancy to speak, act, and admit. He reflects slowly but persistently that silence might kill. However, Corey was also a victim in certain respects, having been tricked by years of psychological manipulation. Rick Harrison wasn't your normal domineering or violent father. Instilling in Corey a love of history, antiquities, and conserving dwindling artifacts, he also loved and mentored his son. Because Corey's heart clung to the idea of a reliable father, this bond overshadowed his initial concerns. The man who helped mold him into his current self. Following the trial, Corey dedicated himself to making amends for the destruction his father had created. To help the families of those who lost loved ones during Rick's secret reign of terror, he founded a foundation. There is no Harrison name on the foundation. Rather, it pays tribute to Ava, whom Corey feels was the first victim of his father. In 2004, he noticed a preserved body in a glass cabinet that eerily resembled her name and appearance. When Corey says, "I can't bring them back, however, I can make an effort to make sure what's left is remembered," there is a great gap in public opinion. While some sympathize with Corey's distressing situation, others view him as an adult financial manager who neglected to reveal horrible crimes taking place in front of him. There is more to Corey Harrison's heartbreaking tale than a startling family scandal. It acts as a sobering reminder of the devastation that quiet can cause and the immeasurable worth of having the guts to face the truth, no matter how harsh. It demonstrates how, on occasion, revealing the truth frees individuals who have been trapped in the shadows of dishonesty and criminality, in addition to bringing justice to the injured. Remember that a single glimmer of courage and truth can cut through the night and restore hope and healing to broken hearts, no matter how thick the darkness. What do you think about this tragic tale? What surprised you the most? Was Rick Harrison given a fair sentence? Leave a comment below with your thoughts on this incredible tale. We appreciate you taking the time to see this video. Please remember to hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed this post so that you can be informed of all our newest breaking news.